Have you ever looked at someone successful, someone polished, articulate, accomplished, and felt inspired and discouraged at the same time? Welcome back to the channel, where truth is spoken, awareness is honored, and reprogramming is the mission. Welcome to Family Focused, the Healing the Roots movement. Inspired because their life represents possibility, but discouraged because somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice begins to whisper. That may be possible for them, but is it possible for me? This is a conversation we need to have, because too often, people see success and only evaluate the visible outcome. They see the platform, they see the confidence, they see the business, they see the lifestyle. But what they often fail to examine is the invisible foundation that helped to build it. And that foundation is not always wealth. In many cases, more than people realize, the true hidden advantage is support. There is a critical distinction between being wealthy and being supported. Those two things are not the same. Not everyone who became successful came from financial privilege, but many did come from environments that offered emotional safety, encouragement, mentorship, stability, exposure, guidance, positive reinforcement, room to fail without being emotionally destroyed. And that matters, because a person who grows up being believed in starts life differently from someone who grows up merely trying to survive. Let's be clear. A child raised in an environment where they are constantly criticized, emotionally neglected, unsupported, or forced into hyper independence is not starting from the same place as someone raised with emotional structure and support. This is why comparison can be so psychologically damaging. Because when people compare themselves to successful individuals without context, they often compare outcomes instead of origins. They compare visible success to invisible struggle, and that creates false conclusions. They begin to think, maybe I'm not capable, maybe I'm behind, maybe success just isn't for someone like me. But often, that is not the truth. The truth may simply be this: you are attempting to build while healing from systems that taught you survival before they ever taught you thriving. That is a very different journey. You may not only need ambition, you may first need reconstruction. You may need to rebuild. You may need to rebuild self-worth, confidence, decision-making capacity, emotional regulation, boundaries, identity, long-term vision. And that does not mean you are less powerful. It means your work is deeper. It means your foundation requires intentional rebuilding. And here is where many people misunderstand success. They assume hard work alone explains outcomes. But hard work without support often looks like exhaustion. Hard work with support often creates expansion. This is why some people appear to move faster. Not necessarily because they are more talented, not necessarily because they are more deserving, but because they are not carrying the same internal weight. Some people are building businesses, others are building themselves while trying to build businesses. That distinction is profound. So when you watch successful people, whether public figures, entrepreneurs, creators, or leaders, do not only ask, what do they have? Ask instead, what systems help shape who they became? Because once you understand systems, you stop idolizing outcomes and begin creating strategies. And strategy is empowering. This perspective shifts you out of shame. It moves you out of comparison into clarity, from self-rejection into self-awareness, from survival mode into intentional thriving. As Viktor Frankl said so powerfully, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. That space is where transformation begins. That space is where generational cycles can be broken. That space is where you stop unconsciously measuring your life against someone else's advantages and begin consciously building your own future. So if your journey has been harder, that does not mean success is unavailable to you. It may simply mean your path requires building systems that others inherited. And while that may demand greater awareness, it also creates extraordinary power. Because when you intentionally build support, stability, identity, and vision for yourself, you are not only changing your life, you are changing what becomes possible for your children, for your family, for future generations. And this is what healing the roots truly means. It means recognizing that success is not simply about money. Sometimes the greatest privilege is support. And if you did not receive that support early in life, you can still build it now. That realization changes everything. So be inspired by success, but do not diminish yourself in the process. Study, learn, distinguish, build, because your beginning may explain your struggle, but it does not have to define your ending. If this message hit home, it's not because you're broken, it's because you are waking up. And reprogramming starts where awareness begins. If this helped you, like, share, and subscribe. And let's keep healing one truth at a time. Healing the nation, one child at a time. And before I go, here is my book recommendation for today. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And I'd like to say hello to my now 474 subscribers. And thank you to those of you who continue to engage with my content. See you on the next video.